So today we're going to go over 10 tips to make your Guild Wars defense better. Now some quick caveats here. This is not for top end GVGers. If you're in top 10 guild, you don't need this. This is for people in kind of low tier Glorious Guardian or anything lower than that, because there are still a lot of weak defenses in those tiers. Number 2, a perfect defense is impossible, so don't feel bad if you get cracked every once in a while. The attacker always has the advantage. I get cracked all the time. I mean, I have a draw there. I failed completely there. I know I have a few failures before this as well. It's impossible to have a perfect defense because the attacker always has the advantage. And number 3 is you're always going to lose to Dark Corvus. So if you get cracked and you think your defense is great, maybe they had Dark Corvus. Dark Corvus is the man. So I'm going to try to make this video as quick and succinct as possible. I hate the videos where Epic 7 people talk about things and it takes them like an hour. So we're going to get right into it. Number 1, make sure your team doesn't instantly lose to a speed team that's faster. So I'm going to try to find some examples like this is my friend Slippy Tips. His second team, it's actually really good. I like it, but the idea here is the same. Basically, if your team is faster than this team, it loses by default. So the classic example is something like A. coli. If I had an A. coli built, I don't. But if I did have something like that or a Sid, I'd hit this right away and just kill the Spez immediately and you win. And this is a really common defense, not this specific defense, but some kind of counter cleave that basically if you're faster than it, you win instantly. And that's a really poor defense long term. In the beginning, when you're short of heroes and you have nothing else and you only have six geared heroes, it's fine. But as you progress, you should try to get away from these defenses where it's just like a semi-fast team, because someone will be faster and those people beat you 100% of the time. Tip number 2, make sure your team doesn't instantly lose to a bruiser team. So something like this, like obviously he's having some hero problems because these heroes aren't that good for defense anyway. But Chloe, Araminta, Oxlots, I mean, really, there's no damage threat here. Like, I don't even know how much damage Chloe does. I've only seen her a few times, and basically, it was a joke. Maybe Chloe's really strong if geared, but I doubt it. But the thing is, something like this, I'm just going to bring a bruiser team and have zero fear of dying. So, same as the not losing instantly to a speed team, make sure your team is not going to instantly get grinded down by a bruiser team. And let's go to tip number 3. Make sure your team is not easily baitable. And I'm going to use myself as an example here because this team's kind of trolly, but my second team is extremely baitable. Because what happens if someone attacking me has a geared fighter Maya and that person doesn't bring any other light hero? My ML Ken and Troublemaker will be on that fighter Maya like white on rice. Because the AI is so retarded, they will never attack anything other than the fighter Maya. And ML Ken and Troublemaker are not that strong. They're probably never going to kill a fighter Maya if it's paired with a healer. Now, the thing is, this isn't that bad because if they bring a healer and fighter Maya, they probably don't have the damage output to stop Amomo's heals. But the principle is there. Make sure your team is not too easily baitable. That's why people will use RGB defenses. This is a RGD defense because it's dark, but people use multi-element defenses so that they can't bring all of one element to counter your whole team, and also so that your characters will attack different things and kind of put pressure on them in terms of healing. So make sure your team isn't all the same element unless you have some kind of really good reason for doing so. Number 4, and I'm going to use this guy's defense as an example again. Make sure your team has kill potential. When you attack someone, isn't the scariest part of it when you know that they have someone that can really mess up your team in a single turn? If you don't have that, you're just going to get grinded down. Make sure you have someone strong. I mean, Seaside alone has kill potential. I'm not saying you need to bring 3 cleavers, but you need to have someone that does a decent amount of damage. Otherwise, people will just laugh at you, and if they have anything like Watcher Shuri or Dark Corvus or Crow, they will beat you 100% of the time because you'll never be able to kill them, and they'll just slowly beat you down. Number 5. Try to incorporate RNG into your defense. Now, this isn't always easy, but I'm going to use this guy as an example. He's our guild's strongest player. He's a total luck sack, has like every single ML5 in the game, and his record speaks for itself. This guy very rarely loses to anyone. So if you look at his second team, what did he decide to do? Assassin Cartusia and Arbiter Vildred, and I am 90% sure this Arbiter Vildred is on MLDB. This means that he has a 35% chance to dodge on his Arbiter Vildred. That's really annoying to deal with, because anytime I see Arbiter Vildred, I want to judge cleave it. But if he dodges, I have a 100% chance of losing, and any smart attacker knows this, and it really stresses them out and forces them to use heroes that are not ideal. RNG is the most annoying thing in this game. Dizzy, another example are artifacts like Abyssal Crown, where basically it procs, you lose. Like, always make the attacker stress out about RNG. That's why everyone loves Charles and why I use him on my defense. They want to grind his team down, but what happens when Charles Elbrises and one-shots your attacker? It just adds a layer of stress and another factor when the attacker's trying to come up with a team to kill you. The fact that if they get unlucky, they lose. It's very, very important. Try to use RNG in your defense. Number 6, remember if your team doesn't die, you win. Have you ever run into Idol's Cheer Angelica? I'm sure a lot of these wins are because they weren't able to kill my Amomo. My Amomo has almost 20k life, 1500 defense, and 180 speed. She is a weirdly built Amomo because usually people just go 200 effect resist. I chose not to do that. I made her kind of fast and really tanky, and I'm sure a lot of them just got stuck because they could never finish her off. So having a really tanky Soul Weaver on defense is a very viable strategy. Yeah, you're going to lose to Watcher Shuris and Dark Corvuses, but those beat pretty much everything anyway, so you just got to take your losses when you come up with things like that. But yeah, basically, and the other idea is basically that you need some sustain. That's why Fallen Cecilia is so popular too. She doesn't heal, obviously, but I've also seen games where you lose because you get stuck in a 1v1 where the attacker is a Soul Weaver versus a Fallen Cece, and she can never ever break the barrier and they have to yield. So the idea is usually tanky teams are better on Guild Wars defense than speed cleaves. Number, what are we on? 7 is understand how the damn AI works. So I think the best example is Oxlots. Oxlots is universally one of the best heroes in the game, one of the best offensive heroes in the game. On defense, he is horrible because what does he do? What does the AI always do? They always prioritize using the S3 first. So if you're attacking this and you know the Oxlots is going to be fast and he's going to S3 first, what do your attackers have? Or at least the important characters have? Immunity, because they know the AI is going to do the S3 and it's going to be complete, it doesn't strip, so it's pointless. So make sure you understand what the hero's AI will do. That's also why SS Acades, even though she's really strong in RTA right now, is never used on Guild Wars defense because her AI is really brain damaged and just does completely nonsensical things. Make sure that when you set up a defense, you know the turn order that they're going to do their skills. If you have a Charles and an SSB, make sure Charles is faster so he puts up the attack buff up first, things like that. So make sure you don't pick a hero that requires basically a brain. Make it kind of like an auto hero because that's what the AI is going to do. Number 8, make sure a single hero doesn't counter your whole team. And the classic example, Arbiter Vildred. Now I want to look at my friend's team here, the second one, because I used to run a similar team except I don't have Spez. So Arbiter Vildred doesn't counter his team because he has Spez, but I had C-Dom instead of Spez. This was in my early days when I just didn't have the heroes, and I used Gerardo instead of Basar. But the thing is, if you had Arbiter Vildred, you could 1v3 that defense because it's 3 squishy heroes that are trying to kind of stun lock you down. But if you have Arbiter Vildred, you look at it and say, okay, so Araminta's going to stun me, I'm going to die to C-Dom, and then I'm going to revive and one-shot that whole team. Make sure your entire team can't die to Arbiter Vildred. If it fails the Arbiter Vildred test, once you get into Glorious Guardian and above, you are going to get cracked so fast because back in that refund time, everyone swapped for Arbiter Vildred. A ton of people have Arbiter Vildred. I regret not trading my Araminta for him. Make sure, basically, I'm saying make sure a single team doesn't counter your whole team. Make sure Arbiter Vildred doesn't counter your whole team, or you're never going to win on defense. Number 9, actually we could use that same team. Make sure immunity doesn't counter your entire defense. So my friend has Basar, so obviously immunity doesn't counter him. But I've seen teams like Dizzy, Aramintha, and some other debuffer, and I look at it, I'm like, it has no dispels. Like maybe they have the violin, but that's still not reliable because it's like you can't trust that. So basically, you look at it and say, for me personally, I say I'm going to bring my ML Ken because he has immunity set, and I'm going to 1v3 that entire team because I'm going to be forced to attack him. And these kind of cleave teams are usually squishy, so they're just going to kill themselves instantly. So there's so many teams I've seen when I'm attacking that basically get immediately neutered by immunity. That's not going to work. Like, don't make a debuff heavy comp without a dispel on it. Like if you have Dizzy or something like counter set with violin, fine. I still don't think that's a great defense, but at least you have something. But do not make dispel teams without a debuff teams without a dispel. It's just retarded. Don't do it. Now my last tip, and honestly I think the most important tip, is look at your own defense and make it difficult to figure out. I want you to imagine this. When you're attacking someone on offense, there are some teams where you just say, oh, I need to be faster than that, and then I win. And then there are other teams it's like, ah, shit, like, how am I going to do this one? It's really weird. That's what you want the attackers to see when they look at your defense, because there's a high chance that they're going to mess up. I want to look at my first team here. This is actually not too difficult to figure out, not because it's a bad defense, but because it's a very meta defense. So many people run this defense that you probably have a team set up for it at top-end GVG. But let's say I was a complete noob. Like, why is this team scary? Well, I can make a speed cleave and go first, but FCC, Seaside, and Charles are all pretty tanky heroes, and they're pretty strong, so if I don't kill them in the first turn, I lose. If I bring a bruiser team, they're still really strong, and they could probably one-shot someone if Charles Elbrises or is on counter set. Basically, like, it's kind of hard to figure out if it wasn't for the fact that so many people run it. Another thing people will do will have like 2 bruisers and then something like a Basar, where they'll be like, oh, well, suddenly it's hard to just bring like strong cleavers because they have 2 bruisers, but suddenly they have someone who's potentially really fast. Like, make sure when you set up a defense team, you open it up, you look at it and say, if I was going to attack this, is it easy to do? Or do I need to kind of use my big brain or whatever to figure out how to beat it? If it takes less than 15 seconds to figure out how to beat your defense, I guarantee that the person attacking you will have just as easy of a time. If you watch top-end GVG videos, you'll notice that some of these people actually spend like 5+ minutes thinking about how they're going to beat something. It's actually really annoying, which is why I don't watch top-end GVG videos, but that's why. That's because the defending person tried to think of a really tricky comp, tried to put RNG in there, tried to put multiple elements in there. That's how you make a strong defense. So I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the section below. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you want to see my own Guild Wars, I have a bunch of them on this channel, so you can go ahead and watch those. Anyways, I hope this video helped you out, and good luck on your Guild Wars defense. See you later, guys.